Welcome to a special edition of Stay a While, recorded live on Radio Row at Super Bowl 59. I'm your host, Tommy Vincent, and we are going to be hearing some dynamic conversations with phenomenal guests here on Radio Row. So take a seat, get comfortable, and stay a while. This episode is sponsored by the House of Joy. Hey everyone, it's Tommy Vincent, your host of Stay a While podcast, and today I have joining me at the table, Anjelika Perry. Anjelika is the CEO of Black Travel Go and systems architect and strategist. Welcome to the table, Anjelika.
Thank you so much. It's happy to be here. It's
Yes.
a beautiful moment.
I'm grateful to have you here so that we could be in conversation today. I want to know more about this business you've established and why did you feel like it was necessary?
Whew. Okay, I'm going to start at the top of the list because there's a few, but I'm a traveler and traveler of the spirit, traveler just in life. And I really started traveling with my own spiritual journey. And it was really important just to get out and see the world. Left home, Altadena, and my first trip was actually to Mexico by myself. And I just traveled for 3 months.
How old were you?
I want to say 21, 22.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I was young, and still trying to find my way. But I just went, and I really had a desire to get to know myself. And people had talked about it so much. And so in just doing research for it, I was looking for just travel inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see something that really would just inspire where I wanted to go. And I didn't really see any travelers that looked like me.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine suggested searching the hashtag Black Travel. And when I searched that, just pages and pages and pages of Black travelers and just everywhere. And this was, almost 7 years ago now, when the industry was just really getting started and
Mm-hmm.
people were realizing that you could have these dynamic experiences in Thailand. You can go to China, you can go to Japan, you can just go anywhere. And so I went to Mexico, and I met a couple of other Black travelers there. And I thought it was amazing that there were people here independently, not just there traveling, but they were also starting businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So these were my folks, because I am a serial entrepreneur and I love to start business. But it was beautiful to see that they were connecting with the indigenous communities there, and they were learning to almost like this trade relationship of where, hey, I have a group coming in from the States, and these are first-time Black travelers. They really are a little bit nervous and a little bit scared, and they want to trust this experience. And so I just started being in community and connection with them, and started learning about myself. And so I had a little bit of a platform then, and next thing I know, I started sharing more of their experiences, the people that I knew, the people that I didn't know, and slowly the community started building. And about a year ago, I created a platform called Community to Commerce, because I wanted to really show the power of community and how you can actually build together.
Yeah.
And that can be another way to see resources. Is, sometimes with entrepreneurship, all of your resources are sometimes centered on financial access. And I think as Black business owners, that's a challenge that we continue to face, especially now with the current climate. And I just really wanted to show, resource can be just talking to each other. How did you do it? How did you get
Information.
there? Information.
Absolutely. People perish because they don't know.
Exactly. And from there, we just started highlighting other travelers in a more dynamic way that says, okay, how do you travel with points? How do you build points? How do you start a business in Mexico? How do you start a business in Thailand? Mm-hmm. How do you connect with other people in the community? And so from there, it just grew and grew and grew to where we are today. And it actually led me to my next business, which is
you said serial entrepreneur.
I did say that, that, was the starting point, because, there's a point of travel that I think it looks really beautiful to be a luxury traveler. And I think we all kind of have that experience. But when I was traveling, there was a point where I was going from one location to the next location. And you kind of have this sense like you're stepping over the community that's already there.
Yeah.
And after about 5 or so years of just traveling really intentionally, it started to weigh on my heart that I needed, within my privilege, needed and wanted to do more. So I connected with my good sis, Anisette, and she's a traveler. She has a travel company. And we created a company called Just Give Art. And so with that, we decided to take this information of knowledge and resources, the things that we were doing to bring travelers into communities. And we decided to create this company to share the art of expression, the art of humanity. How can we bring travelers that have this privilege of experience to communities that are looking to build? So we created this experience called Global Impact, and we're hosting this in Uganda this year. Shout out to Uganda.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's a beautiful experience. We're partnering with an organization there that just built a school, and we're bringing, any resources we have, and we're really showing that power of community as an opportunity to be commerce. I work in systems and process building, as you mentioned, and one of the big areas that I work in is AI, and teaching AI to Black and Brown business owners or just hopefuls. How do you use the power of this new tool that's going to change the world? And how can we get this into communities to help get creative about our resources? How do we give access, and how can we create actual trade across the ocean? So all of it came in together in travel, and I'm really grateful for this community and this just, the space to be able to share whatever I can to build and grow. So
with your travel, do you curate your own experiences, or do you work with someone to build what that experience is going to look like? Because that's a fear that people have with traveling. Like, it's sometimes if you get a situation where it's kind of inclusive of the experience there, it's too expensive. But if you can navigate, the itinerary yourself, you're able to manage those expenses. So how do you go about that?
So I'm a lone traveler.
Okay.
I'm a road traveler. I will not say travel like me, but I am very much experience-based. So I love to just pack a bag and go and just, here's my hotel. I do have that, but other than that, that was how I learned how to travel and get to know the community that I was traveling in. Because some of the greatest stories and the experiences you're going to have are when you just talk to people and you just say, hey, tell me, where's this? Where do you like to go eat? So that's one way of traveling. There are some other ways, and we work with a lot of specifically Black and Brown owned businesses that are travel agents. And I really like to amplify their voices because, I think the misconception is that travel has to be expensive. And so that's what holds a lot of people back, is that they think that I can't go to London because I got to pay for the hotel and it's an arm and a leg. I got to, all of the travel that comes with it. But there's really a lot of access and opportunity, and there's communities there now that didn't exist that will help you navigate and travel and say, this is the best place to stay because it's central to this. And agents are doing that now, specifically working with Black and Brown travelers that have never traveled before, or they want to add more experience to their travel.
Yes.
So there's a lot of entry points to this and access for folks now that didn't exist, purely based on platforms like Black Travel Go and so many others that exist, that are just showing you, even if you don't have an itinerary, you can pick a page and someone has come with me to this tea shop, and you've probably seen it before, and come with me to this tea shop, or come with me to this cafe. I got my hair braided in Japan, and it was a vibe, it was a moment. And
it looked good.
And it looked good. You would be surprised. But yes, they know how to do braids over there. Come on. So it just exists, and I really encourage, search the hashtag Black Travel Go, Black Travel, Black travelers. Travelers now is a little bit more diverse. So now, we're making waves in other hashtags that still exist. So
In your quest to really come into this space, because you've mentioned multiple times about how you've gotten to know yourself, how you've learned of yourself.
yeah.
In this quest, in this journey, what has been the most challenging part about that for you?
Ooh. Um, mm. I think the most challenging part has been to get out of my own way.
Mm,
No one's out to get you, and you're safe. Um, I think there's a sense of home that I really encourage people to cultivate within themselves,
yeah.
with any travel journey. Um, when you can identify home within, you're operating outward, and it's a place that you really, really love. And that was a hard place getting to, and it took a lot of loss. Specifically, what kicked it off for me was my mother transitioning into 2018, and just a wave of grief and not knowing how to manage that. And this is pre businesses, pre anything, just Anjelika living in the world with
Yeah.
no direction. And I think it's grief can point you in a lot of the right spaces when you just open your heart to healing. And that was, I think, getting out of your way, releasing attachment to your narratives, and that it has to be a certain way. Because every time that I have shed that it has to be this way, the next level is unlocked. That has led me to a deeper faith. And then once you get your faith together, you can operate from there, because it's like this space of love that I'm doing everything because I love myself at the end of it. And so loving myself within that home, within releasing all of that pain and kind of giving something beautiful back to the world. It's been the hardest place to get to, but also when it comes back out, it's full of love, and it's full of just creating opportunities for others, and I think that's a good space to be in with community. So.
No, I couldn't agree more. Before we started recording, you and I were talking about, your story and some of your legacy in regards to your grandmother, and how all of that really came to the forefront as a result of the tragedy of the fires in California.
Yeah.
So can you talk about how that experience has caused you to really look at your legacy and the contributions that your grandmother has made, the sacrifices she's made, and how that impacts you?
I love these questions. They're very reflective. And so legacy is important. And I think that once you get to that place of home, you're building your legacy out from there. At least for me, that's what it was. And I grew up in Altadena, California, and it just, you're growing up in this space that you don't really see what this is. You just know that it's your experience. And I grew up knowing these stories about my grandmother, who, she moved from Alabama she started in Seattle, made her way down to Los Angeles, got married, had kids, got divorced, started her career, went to FITM. As a Black woman in the 50s and 60s, that's a big deal in Los Angeles. And she was just determined to, something she always told my mother, and that was passed down to us, is that always have, something for yourself as a woman.
Yeah.
As, I don't know if she attached Black woman to it, but she just said, as a woman, have something for yourself. And now this is someone who had 4 kids, She grew up in the jungles of LA. If you're from LA, you know, but she moved her family to this innovative town called Altadena during the White Flight. If you're familiar with that happened in Pasadena. And she bought this home from working in the film industry because she was one of the lead seamstresses on Star Trek, the original series. She worked on I Love Lucy. And, we just had these stories of, she would come home. My mom would say that she would come home with like scripts that were from shows that she worked on. And they didn't know what to do with it when she passed. So everything just kind of went into the storage of our garage, which was at the house that burned down. We had her original, sewing machine, and it was a vintage Singer, which doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
But we had it, and up until recently, it was still there. And she passed this entrepreneur spirit down to my mother, who was, then took it on herself to support Black and brown babies and healthy maternities and, just everything that dealt with community building. And then she started her own doula program. And so she traveled all around the country and just, she went to school. She went back to school at a later age. So it just was all of these stories of these amazing women. And then I come along as an entrepreneur, didn't know that this was going to be my journey, but I think I just kind of walked into it because I had all of these stories already. And I think my mother was really passionate about healthy Black and brown babies. And so I feel like I'm taking that to the next step, healthy Black and brown communities.
Yes.
And how can I create, we had the babies. I was one of those healthy Black and brown babies. And now I'm building in community, and now I'm connecting all of these folks that are going through this moment of awakening, I think, right now. And I think with what happened with our town and our home, legacy is more important than ever now. Yeah. And there is something really important of Altadena is not for sale. Which is a really big campaign right now, just within our community of, we can't let Altadena be forgotten because of all of the people. And these are people I grew up with that, are working themselves in the film industry. My siblings alone are in different industries as well. And I just think it's important that folks look at what's happening now and hopefully inspired to be a part of the rebuild, knowing that we do want to rebuild and that we're now the leaders of this. And
absolutely.
Take it and we can build better, we can build differently. And literally we're building from the ashes of something tragic that happened, and it doesn't have to stay tragic. It can be something beautiful. And I think that's the legacy that I want to contribute and add to it, is how do we turn this into something that is beautiful now for future generations to come and see and hear the story of my grandmother, my future kids one day, and things like that. So more than ever, legacy is important. And I want to, as we go into Uganda, as we go into all of these other spaces, we're building legacy around the world of what Black and brown communities can actually be when we come together, like truly come together with organization. So that's where I'm at.
That was beautiful. And the thing about legacy is it's supposed to transcend us and transcend the generations prior. And it's not we're not starting something new, we're building onto.
Right.
And so when you talked about now the home has to be erected from the ashes.
Yeah.
The foundation is still there.
Right.
The legacy of your grandmother and your mother, now you all get to build onto the legacy that they've established. And so it is going to be something beautiful. And so this, I know that, and I would never try to console and minimize what that experience is for you and your family. But I just want you to be encouraged because now you all are in a position to build on to the beauty that already existed.
Yeah.
So
I
thank you for
appreciate
sharing that.
Yeah, it feels like ancestral ground,
Yeah.
honestly. This was where my mother transitioned, my grandmother transitioned, my grandfather, my dad. They're there
Yeah.
everywhere. They're with us in spirit. Altadena we're in spirit now. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I know it's wild. My mom would say, well, everybody's safe. And you can always get stuff back,
Yes.
and I have, a few pictures that I just happen to have with me. I carry them around when I travel, and it was my sense of home. And they're literally the only remaining images of our family that exist. And I think that's important. And I want to contribute to the community with that in whatever way we can. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Anjelika, in your parting words, what would you share with Anjelika that was on her quest to find herself? What would you say to her to keep her encouraged to keep going?
Come on now. What would I say? Everything happens for a reason. You're going to be okay. And you are more powerful than you probably even know, wherever you are in your journey. And thank you. That's what I would say. She needs to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for joining me on Stay a While. And I just want you to know that my table is always open for you. You always have a seat, and you are welcome anytime.
And thank you so much. This has been everything I imagined, just joy. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
You.
Thank you. I hope you felt the love and connection in today's conversation. Every woman you heard from has faced the impossible and emerged stronger. This is your personal invitation to stay a while longer at TommyV.com. That's TOMMIV.com for more inspiration for your mind, body, and soul. And let's not forget your belly. You're always welcome at my table. Please be sure to subscribe, make yourself at home, and stay a while.